I, Badman Benti. Yeah, man, it's Blane Bent World. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Heavy Metal Savannah headquarters. It's Bravo Picasso reporting in. And today we got a special episode that I titled Battle of the Beaks. Yup, that's right. Battle of the Beaks, I had coined it from a movie called, I think, Legend of the Guardians. Well, they had like a chapter in it where it was called Battle of the Beaks, and so I kind of pulled from that as inspiration to add it into my song called "Why the Cage Bird Sings." And we dropped that last year. It was kind of like an emotional song, and like I was going through things while basically just reflecting the times at that time period. And what's interesting about that song is that with the battle between Drake and Kendrick, you know what I'm saying? Kendrick putting the Barnes owl, I forgot what type of owl it was, but he had put a certain owl in a cage that, he tried to depict Drake as. You know what I'm saying? Now, for those that are Drake fans or for just those in general that kind of know the Drake brand, he usually has the great horned owl as a representation of his branding and who he is, right? And so, you know, I felt like in 2024 when the industry went dark, when everything went crazy, you know what I'm saying? We saw a lot of people in the game turn their back on the boy. We saw the world kind of turn their back on him. I think a lot of people felt like maybe he was just on top of the game for too long, and maybe they wanted a new champion, and it just seemed like people were doing whatever it takes to make that happen, and it was crazy. Not many artists. Actually, I don't know if really any artists that jumped in to support Drake other than myself, of course. Which some might say is debatable, on my end, but I'm gonna break that down in this video, so that way we can just clear things up if anybody got it confused. Um, but yeah, man, the Iceman is here. You know what I'm saying? After all that has happened, um, Drake dropped not 3 tracks, 3 albums. Habib T, Maid of Honor, and of course Iceman. I've listened to all 3 projects 3 times. Of course, I've played back some songs more than others. Um, but I knew it was coming. You know what I mean? I know it was a surprise to the world that for such a mainstream act to drop that amount of work. We've seen a lot of artists, that drop 40 songs on an album before. We've seen people try to run up the numbers, but to make it separate projects and to make it strategic around the release of Iceman as kind of like a booster in a way. Like I think of it like, for Iceman it's like if we're talking about a rocket ship going off into space, right? Like the other 2 albums, Habib T and Maid of Honor, um, they would be like the boosters that takes Iceman completely out of the atmosphere. And once, that fuel is no more, then they drop off the main, ship, the main album, back to Earth or whatever, probably landing in the ocean somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You know, and then Iceman has its own fuel source from there to just go to another planet, venture off into space on some Rick and Morty shit. It's just how I see it, you know what I'm saying? And what's so fire about it, you hear the rumblings that, there's bees on the table, saying that, being that he's gonna be out of his deal, these 3 projects cover that, and it's probably a couple billion on the table at this point. You know, I want artists to really look at the example of not just what it takes to, produce at a high clip and make quality art, but to also look at the business behind it, and how people galvanize against you when you have just things working in your favor. Even if you're on a small level, it's the same way. It might not be met with the same adversity of everybody coming at you like it's the Matrix and Neo and Trinity's trying to get out of it. Kind of looked like that for him. And you know it's called Battle of the Beaks because everybody online, is chiming in. They putting their beak in the conversation about, how they feel about the projects. You got people that complain that there's no way they're gonna listen to all 3. You got people saying that it's mid, or it's the same old same, and all of these critiques when you see one of the top artists, if not the top, get criticized for piercing through the veil and really overcoming a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because for my song "Why the Cage Bird Sings," the artwork that's depicted on there, and shout outs to my guy Get Designs here, because we predate AI, and that's no shame to the AI users. I use AI. But there is a stark difference up until technology decides to catch up to where we can't really tell, right? But I just want to big up the content creators out there, and big up the artists that's true to their craft, true to form, you know because nowadays when people say, "Oh, you just AI'd it," they try to diminish, the work and the thought process that went behind creating something. And these are tools that we can use to, create leverage and create some momentum for us to, really, really shine through. And so, for those that follow me, I've been utilizing both my friends that have awesome gifts that I'm able to work with, and I'm also using my mind and technology, and I'm learning at my own pace to figure out how I can implement it, because in my opinion it's only making me even more elite and more efficient, to just broadcast to you guys and be here to autonomously create content that's so effortless that it's like, wow, like, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully it inspires cats out there to kind of hop on board, you know what I'm saying? And so, I'm wearing my Python strap back, my Knicks hat, my Knicks snapback, you know what I'm saying? My Knicks strap back, you feel me? Shout outs to the Knicks. You feel me? We in the finals as New Yorkers, you know what I'm saying? We really in there. I think it was like 25 years that it's been since we've been in the finals, and Lord knows if we take home that chip, that ring, uh, they say the city's gonna turn to Gotham. They say the whole New York State gonna be Gothamed out. You know what I'm saying? You know, but nah, shout outs to the Knicks. That's why the color scheme is on board today. Yeah, this shirt I'm wearing, represents Falcon Punch. Again, like, uh Why the Cage Bird Sings. I made like a whole series, um, just like I said, reflecting the times, putting my pen to the test, you know, uh putting my name in the ring as a new challenger. And I kind of looked at it as like a Royal Rumble, to where, maybe it would inspire others to figure out how to be creative, to wedge their way into the game. You know what I'm saying? This is past doing it for visibility because it's obvious that I'm amazing. And so, when it's out there and people might be like, "Oh, he's doing this for clout." No, no, no. Like it's a part of that. Don't get me wrong. Like obviously I know that if I'm calling out people or if I'm making bars at certain people and flipping things and all of that, yeah, I get the premise of that, but that's not the main focus. The main focus is to put out quality bodies of work, whether that be into singles, EPs, albums, artwork. A lot of people just, they're fascinated with making music or writing or rapping or singing. But I'm also a fan of the artwork, the presentation, the calculation, the precision, um, even getting in to videography and I know there's amazing videographies or videographers out there, and learning that as a new skill is it's a whole other world that I'm trying to practice for. But you know what I'm saying, presentation for the complete package, it's just something that really matters to me. I know a lot of people, they feel like they can breeze by certain things, and if it works for them and they get an insane following, whether they got low res images or they're scared to use AI, so they just still are where they are comfortably, and it works for them. If it works for you, who am I? You know what I'm saying? Because that's your reality, that's your life, that's how you see it. But from my perspective, you know what I'm saying? I want to share it in a 8K HD format as best as I can. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not to say that I'm a bit of a perfectionist. It's just I have certain things with taste. And you'd be surprised, like a lot of your favorite artists let other people to dictate, what their artworks should be for their album covers, or maybe they have teams to decide, what the aesthetic or the theme should be. That's all me. You know what I'm saying? That's all me. Like I care about these things. I let my guys that I work with know what I want, as far as like the dictation on certain things. And then I also allow them to freely express themselves and venture off into new things that could work with my ideas, so that way we could find a happy medium of knowing what I want and achieving that, as well as dipping into some new shit that I've never seen before and see how that plays out and how that reacts to the shit that I already have currently. So, that's how I always stay fresh. I'm a guy that always tries to keep it fresh, not just from the quality of work that I put out there, but just also as a person. You know what I'm saying? How you treat people, it goes a long way. And so, you know, um, yeah, man. Shout outs to the Iceman. You feel me? Like I said, I listened to all three projects 3 times. I've listened to songs on there more than once, of course. Um, I'm kind of, you know, understanding Drake a little bit more, like his mindset on certain things when it comes to song creation. I like how versatile he is. That's one of the things that I admire about him, and that I've also implemented in my game is not being afraid to, attack certain sound fields and paint flows and create stories, and you know what I'm saying. Like people gonna knock you because whether it's the accent or it's doing different genres, but then if he only did rap, then you would just get tired of that and you would just say, "Oh, why doesn't he do anything else?" or "Oh, he's a one-trick pony." So you're never gonna win, and the only way you do win is by just playing your own game at the highest, most effective way that you can. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, and recently I had a Toronto trip. You know what I'm saying? I went out to Canada, Toronto for the first time. That was amazing. Of course, he had the ice blocks downtown, and Me and my lady, we took like a mini vacation. We was out there, I did Paint the Sky in Blood freestyle briefly over there, as well as the Mega Man song, which is on my Digital Butterfly album that we dropped in 2024, which ironically enough alludes to everything that's going on right now. Like, you probably would have thought I had a crystal ball to tell you how I seen it all, but it's just, what can I say? I was just tapped in at the right time, just in a different time. You know what I'm saying? And making content out there, and seeing what's out there, the quality of living, and just even the building structures. It was just so nice to just switch things up from where I station currently in Ithaca, um, which is upstate New York. And so, you know, uh, yeah, this album is potent as fuck. You know what I'm saying? The beats go hard. The flows are top tier. The punchlines is crazy as fuck. Everything that I think people said that he is lacking in or whatever it is, like, I think we can put that to bed now. A lot of people that I'm hearing, from LA or the West Coast of things, I'm not gonna mention their names, but I guess they're still, furious about, the shots that he's taken. And I'm hearing certain prominent names say, shit like, oh, Kendrick froze him in that time period. And it's like, I'll never understand how, you know, the world kicks his back in at a mass scale, and you got people on the radio stations and shit like that saying, like, oh man, we just want Drake to get over it. And like, what's the point? And like, I don't want to hear about the Kendrick beef. And it's like, yo, like, you can't control how people respond. You know what I'm saying? You can't control how they take that energy and then fuel themselves to create bangers. You know what I'm saying? And what's sad as fuck is that people in music just haven't been putting out quality music, or music that sticks, or music that anybody really cares about, because the storyline attached to it isn't there, or it's not attractive to give a fuck about, or it's so negative that it supersedes the music that does drop from that artist. And being that, we have somebody like Drake that, he's from Canada, by the way. You know what I'm saying? So, to a lot of American artists that didn't drop any bangers like that. And I'm not saying like people ain't rapping at high levels, because the underground is definitely alive and well. And I'm not even speaking on my behalf. Like, there's people that are putting work out there. But as far as like coming to the table with hits and slaps and bangers and bops and stuff like that, like, it almost feel like, everything in the entertainment business right now in general just seems so watered down. Everyone's a podcaster, which isn't a bad thing. Get your money, or, get your content off. But it's like, if the moment something doesn't pay well, people drop like flies and people stop producing, or people get burnt out and they wonder, what the next thing is going to be for them, and how are they going to balance all of that. And it's like, you know, ultimately, for Drake, you know what I'm saying, what he went through and how he was able to, create moments and tie it all together for these projects. I'm super grateful. We all got a buffet, to just really slowly digest, and that's part of the reason why I didn't, put my beak out there so fast to just get a review, to get the views and all of that, because take your time. Like, what's really the rush? Like, how the fuck you gonna rush 3 projects, man? Like, you, like, for me, I don't really go out as much and party or anything like that. So as far as like hearing certain records in the club and stuff like that, like, it's just not really for me, the club scene anymore. But as far as the bangers that he does have for those environments, as I'm chilling in a neutral environment, I can tell you exactly where they're gonna ring off with no problem. So, you know, he achieved a lot, man. He achieved a lot on this shit, man. And not only that, but the boy, he really came back with just dropping mad visuals. And I think that when he was doing a lot of the live video style type, like he was, in a way becoming a streamer, you know what I'm saying? So when he was streaming live and people was, saying it was boring because it was too dragged out, and they end up clipping all the extra into like a more shorter condensed video format for us to watch and enjoy. Like, I thought that was super smart, super genius, like, and it just shows you like what he really did for the overall rollout. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a masterclass rollout. He had fan engagement with the ice blocks that was like a million and some change or whatnot. Like, he had streamers and everybody actively talking about the project. I feel like the lawsuit was also like, even though it's some real shit that he probably wanted to discover from that, I felt like the lawsuit was also a genius play, um because in 2024, I believe when he made that in 2025, the fact that so much hate and talk was generated behind that action, it was like by the time that shit like died down, and then he's doing lives and he's keeping things interesting and entertaining, and then there's promo still going on, and then the albums is about to drop, and he's doing the videos, he's dropping all the videos before the album drops. It was just like, that's one of the coldest masterful rollouts that we've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? And of course you're gonna have people being like, oh, another Drake Glazer and whatever. Nah, that boy dropped glaciers on you niggas. You know what I'm saying? If we keeping it a thou wow bow wow, that boy dropped glaciers on you niggas. Like, and not for nothing, let's talk about the lawsuit, right? Because people are probably like, but Blane, didn't you say on Falcon Punch, ain't it funny how he tailor made a lawsuit? Oh, shoot, you know? And it's like, I did, but the lyrics in that, is an amalgamation of, like I said, all that tied in to what happened in 2024, 2025. And Tailor Made was a song also that he used in the battle with Kendrick. So there's the wordplay layer of that as well. Um of him, ain't it funny how he tailor made the lawsuit? Cause it's like, yo, in the album, he's saying he's not suing the boy, he's suing the man. Like, you niggas don't understand or whatever. And it's like, no, niggas got that, but it was just that how it looks when the world unanimously says that you lost is like, it looks like you just ran to the cops. But then we also can't forget that Kendrick, from what I believe or remember, uh, he called the Tupac estate, and I think that's what Drake even said on Family Matters. He called the Tupac estate to ask him to take the tailor made freestyle down because it had AI, and yet Kendrick can AI video image, Nipsey Hussle, Kobe Bryant, like mad people's image and likeness in the Heart Part 5, or was it 6? I'm not sure which one it was, but it was one of them videos, and it was just like, so it's cool when he do it, it's a problem when he does it type shit. You know what I'm saying? For me, I still think Taylor Made was genius. That beat was cold as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was trying to find it all over YouTube to rap over it. And I think that shit just got hit so bad that people just stopped uploading it because they didn't want to get their channels strike down. But Nah, that shit was cold as fuck. And you know, I like moves like that. Like that was a creative, outside the box type move, and you know what I mean. You know, if that was so ultra disrespectful, then Drake, we could say, probably won at that point. If that's what we call the most utmost disrespect that the estate has to ask someone to take a song down. Like Kendrick was already inviting legal shit, you know what I'm saying, before Drake, you know, does what he does with the lawsuit to the label. You know what I'm saying? So when I say it in my song, like I find it funny that he did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it wasn't not understanding that he's not doing it to Kendrick. No, we got that. But again, it's like, yo, how it looks from what happened and with Not Like Us, doing its rounds and being at the Super Bowl. Me personally, and I'm gonna keep saying this, I didn't watch that Super Bowl. Unfortunately, on social media, I see the clips, I see the memes, like it's a part of history now and shit like that. So that's how I was able to see what went down. But as far as wasting my time, I don't watch the Super Bowl anyway, so it wasn't really like something that I had to strike against. But for me, the issue was the pedophilia bars, the pedo bars. I couldn't get jiggy to that. I couldn't rock with that. And then not only that, but as a lyricist, like the whole taking it further thing that Kendrick was saying, it's like I get it to a degree, but I don't wanna there's just certain things that I'm not willing to do to win my trophy or earn my chip. You know what I'm saying? I just felt like if that's the precedent we gonna set, like then everybody in rap or in battle rap should just call everybody pedophiles then. And then everybody be like, he's a pedophile. You know what I mean? And it's just like, okay, well, if that's the max thing to say, and it's just nasty, it's I don't even want to. The fact that everybody was jamming to that shit in the world, like it bothers me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I knew that even though I could admit it was an anthem, right? And people was playing it, I knew that it just was a combination of people being prisoners of the moment. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm gonna keep it a stack. Like I don't really hear that song. I probably haven't heard that shit since last year. You know what I'm saying? If I'm really keeping it tall with y'all, I don't think I've probably like yeah, like middle of last year. But then again, I don't be all over the place in the United States and be going out too crazy. I'm the type of guy, go to work, come home, and I venture off here and there. But even when it's the here and there, that's not the go-to record that I hear. So I'm thinking that, people are the masses are, I would like to say, and it's gonna be fucked up, but I think the masses are just dumb as shit, full of shit. And so anything that's popular in the moment, that they'll seize the moment and feel like, yeah, like I'm a part of the moment, to not feel left out of the moment. And so I think that's what, and that's no hate shit. That's just me. I mean, like, anybody playing that shit now? Did anybody play that shit when the Iceman dropped? That's like, yo, but we still playing this though. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Let's just call a spade a spade. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be for real. Nobody's playing that shit. Not on my side. And if you are, like, I got friends that you know that, like, if I big up Drake a lot, they'll go into their Not Like Us mode. But it's like, you know, that's that's not that doesn't have the same sting or impact like it did when it was in the moment. You feel me? So, you know, that's it on that. But I do like, I'm not gonna lie, I do like the song from Kendrick, the Turn Your TV Off shit. The TV off shit. I don't know if anybody's DBZ fans. I got the Dragon Ball necklace, you know what I'm saying? The Ultra Instinct, I don't know if that was an actual flip, that mustard flip to make that beat, but that beat is crazy. Crazy. And not for nothing, I also watch Hassan Campbell too. So his terminology of, you know, hit him in the head with a, and watch your circle before they hurt you, because they'll turn your TV off, or however his slogans go in his shows. I've heard him say that phrase so many times that, like, to now hear it in a anthem like that, it was just like, damn, like, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I can give more props and credence to that shit just because of the context here, for that beat, that sound, and the slang associated. But as far as Not Like Us, like, that shit, that's just, it's just not for me. However, the artwork attached to it's just so fucking critical. I think I mentioned that in my other video about how, like, bird's eye viewish and military esque it was back when he dropped that in the clash with Drake. And you know, it's just been crazy seeing where we are now and how many people are backpedaling and how many people are trying to be on the good graces, or how many people are probably still sticking to hating a guy because the views double and triple when they hate. But if they support the guy that should be hated, then the algorithm might not be as fond to them with the views. And so a lot of people's moral compass or integrity is definitely in question. But we also know that it's the internet and nobody takes the internet serious. So it's really just an arcade of, you put a quarter in or a decade in, right? And you see what you can get out of it. You know what I'm saying? And I think for Drake is looking like the top artist in the world right now with the highest score in the arcade. And a lot of people feel a way about that. A lot of records have been broken. Sure, he is not Michael Jackson. No one's saying that, but we're also acknowledging that he did surpass the record amount. And also, Mike's not here. I'm pretty sure if Mike was still here, he'd be creative and still put up, music on the charts. But when it's big level business and Mike was playing big level business, that it's like, things just happen the way they do. The chips fall where they may. You know what I'm saying? So, we could acknowledge that Drake has been in the arcade of hip hop, of rap, for quite some time, and people keep saying he's 40, he's 40. I don't think he's 40. I think he's like 38 or 39. Like, chill on the 40 talk, because even at 40, you're still Gucci, bro. Like, you're still Gucci. Like, and for people saying to stop, make younger music, like, and stuff like that, like, I think Hove says some shit like that. Like, Hove, respectfully, like, you know what I'm saying? It's music, dog. Like, you know what I mean? If you got the idea and the ability to still create and push the envelope forward and usher in new generations, that's a skill, that's a gift. Like, no one should downplay that ever or hate on that ever just because they're in a more mature, evolved space, and maybe they don't have that in them to achieve that. And so that is my criticism to JayZ. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people gonna be afraid of JayZ. I don't know any of these niggas, so it doesn't matter. They don't cut my checks. They don't do anything for me. So I'm gonna speak candidly here and just be like, yo, to any artists out there, create at your free will. You understand? Because um that's just important to the overall thing of what we do. We can't sit here and only in hip hop we judge our artists like that. Rock and rollers could be 70, 80, and they're singing the same heartbreak song from when they were 17, 21, when they was in the game, and connected to those people that are teenagers or new in their adulthood, and they're still touring off that one song, eating off that one song. But when somebody, is in the arcade longer than most, and, they try to put up as much numbers on the board as possible before, they hit the higher numbers in life, it's like, that's a problem. It shouldn't be a problem, bro. If anything, tap in with the creatives that can afford that ability to you, and do good business, and put out high quality art, because we know Hove to do that. And so, that's my respectful way of given the pushback to Hove on that take in the interview that he had with some dude that just was throwing softball questions. But aside from that, um, you know, the Drake albums, you know what I'm saying? The Drake albums, shit was fire, like hands down. And you know, of course, of course, the Iceman is gonna stand out to me. Of course, it's gonna stand out to a lot of people. I think second for me would be, Maid of Honor. Habib T is nice too. A lot of people, and maybe I'll just speak for myself. Like, I like R&B vibes and alternative rock vibes. I see that he was getting in his bag of that, and I appreciate that. If we got a country Drake or an alternative rock Drake, that would be so fire. Because where I'm at, even as an artist mentally, I'm on some like, yo, I want to try out mad genres with my style and just mesh with them, and then make a new format, make a new style. You know what I'm saying? A hybrid style, and you know, you know, just again seeing him pave the way, doing what he's doing right now. It's just showing us a blueprint of how to approach certain records, and you know, to kind of go back to you know my records and how I got it set up. You know, Paint the Sky in Blood. I called out a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Because I was disappointed in just people that I thought were excellent rappers not jumping in either to defend Drake as allies because they got records with Drake. And so you see a lot of camaraderie when they got a record together. But when it came to like the alliance, it just seemed like Drake was on his only island. And not for nothing too. I also DM Drake around 2024 when all of that shit happened on Instagram. And I think I said something about Dranos, you know what I mean? Because there was this Thanos meme that had his face on it with all the with all of the gems in his gauntlet. And I probably said some like camaraderie shit, I don't think he's ever seen that message or anything like that. I sent other things too, shamelessly. You know what I'm saying? I felt like what Drake needed, but not really, because clearly he's cleaning up. But I felt like if he had, spitters on his team to kind of aid him in war, that would have spiced things up. But I think, when you're the guy at the top, it's probably more attractive to, have the 20v1 or, that type of phrasing of it's just one man versus one man army, taking out everybody. So I get that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. Like something in me was just like, it was just like, yeah, like I can give Buddy some bars, but because no one's above criticism. But at the same time, like I'm gonna go at these guys too, and then make that be known. So Paint the Sky was some of that. Then we went into Falcon Punch. Paint the Sky was more of a freestyle, so I had to put that on YouTube and SoundCloud only. But for Falcon Punch, we took the same concept, and we copped the beat. And shout outs to Forgotten. We copped the beat, and you know what I'm saying. We just took it to the streaming world, took it to the charts, and then from there, we went to Why the Cage Bird Sings, which is the owl having the ring flying out the cage. So the story is the crow on Paint the Sky. We took the ring from the Drake mansion. Again, he might not like that, right? Because it's like, yo, this nigga's robbing me while I'm getting jumped by the world, right? But it's like we had to take the ring, and then you know what I'm saying. We Falcon punched the Super Bowl because we dropped it on the Super Bowl. You feel me? So we passed that. The crow teams up with the Falcon, and then we go to the forest where the cage is locked up, or is locked the owl. You know what I'm saying? The owl's locked up in the cage. So on some Maya Angelou shit. We went over there, and the storyline for how I created it was like we needed the two-pot ring that Kendrick wants in order to unlock the cage. And then from there, the owl has to then, take that ring and then meet me. You know what I'm saying? So um after that, we got Circadian Tuxedo, where it's like four four beats in one song, so it's about 9 minutes long. You know what I'm saying? We took the Meltdown record with Drake and Travis Scott as the first song. Then it goes into J. Cole's 7 minute drill song, but the second half of 7 minute drill, because it was more dark and ominous. And then we go into the third part of Family Matters. You know what I'm saying? Because that shit was just so fire. And I went to New Ho King in Toronto too. You know what I'm saying? So that shit was super fire to make the connection later on. But so we went there for the third. So that's basically Super Saiyan 3 right there. And then to go Super Saiyan 4, we we took a sample flip from My Hero Academia, um from this producer named MD, that was just on YouTube. I mean, he's been on YouTube, he or she, I'm not sure who this person is, but on YouTube, they've been on YouTube for a long time, and I've listened to the tracks on YouTube and on SoundCloud, and I tried to reach out, ended up downloading that beat, and basically just fusing all four songs together to just show, my one last hurrah of this series of events. You know what I'm saying? So we ended up dropping that on July 4th, and I think on July 4th, um, or I think maybe Juneteenth. I'm not sure when that. I think Juneteenth probably already. Yeah, the Juneteenth was the pop out for Kendrick, and then July 4th, I dropped Circadian Tuxedo, uh on some Independence Day for all the independents out there. So that's the layering that goes into that song. You know what I'm saying? And in that song, on that fourth beat switch, there's a lot of people that I mentioned in there. There's a lot of rappers that I mentioned in there, but what I said clearly in there about, like, Free and Drake, like, via the symbolism of the owl with the ring and shit like that, it was basically me showing my camaraderie to Drake. You know what I'm saying? Not gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? Jumping in, you know, um, has its risk. You know what I'm saying? I'm not big enough for anyone to really care. You feel me? So I think that also works in my favor. But if and when uh these records, get the right exposure and, do its thing out there, um that's the story I left behind. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it would be fire as fuck if I got an owl chain. I'm not gonna lie to you. It would be fire only because that, I put my pen, my sword to the test, you know. And I know he's the most popular talked about guy, and so that to people could feel like, oh, like he's, trying to do too much or whatever. But, it takes balls to do what I did. You know what I'm saying? And to everybody that really just chickened out, or maybe contractually they couldn't, you know, jump in even if they wanted to, it is what it is. That's the freedom of being independent. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, of course, being independent, we got the drawbacks of, we need a lot of money to invest into our career, invest into, certain things. And a lot of people, I've been doing a lot of I'm trying to like create a lot of content with a lot of known rappers and DJs and A&Rs in the space. And I've learned valid lessons on how people out there, they'll sell you that they're genuine. They'll sell you that like, yo, like I got this deal going on or this package going on or I could do this for you. If you want to know more, hit me up in the DM and then you do all of that. You pay the money up front, no problems. You provide content and all of a sudden, people drag their feet on you. People, I think people think that their name is so bigger than life that when they attract the small artists that they know are hungry artists, it's almost like we can never get the proper credit or the proper shine or the thing that's being advertised to us in order for us to really expand through them in the form of collaboration. I just came to the realization that a lot of these known artists, they don't respect the money, they don't respect the time, they don't respect the brand, they don't respect your name, and you could easily say that, oh, niggas is haters because they mad of what I got going on, or you could say all of that shit, but I don't care. I don't care about all of that. Like, just be respectful. Respect me as I respect you. You know what I'm saying? People like to talk that honor talk, that respect talk, like as if that's what the fuck they're from. Like that's the cloth they're from. And then when you interact with them and they show other signs, they show the opposite signs of that. It's just like, yo, like what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? And then online for the world, y'all eat it up, y'all love it because it's what y'all get out of it. But for me, on the back end of the business, it's a lot of grimy tactics. It's a lot of shady, subs and even if I'm not saying names right now and this comes off as a sub, I'm being honest as fuck to the fucking camera. Dead ass. You know what I'm saying? And I'm calling that shit out. Calling that shit out because it's like, you know, what's chump change to you it's bread to some people. And I'm gonna just say it's bread to me. I don't have money like that. You know what I'm saying? I may look like I got money, I may sound like money, and I never fronted like I got money. What you see on the camera is accumulation over time of where I put the money. That's a difference. You know what I'm saying? I take care of my shit. You feel me? But, you know, I could only imagine, right, that if you got the potential and you got what it takes to do what it do, and you put your money behind it, and then it's just niggas that be on some, oh, I don't like that shit. You know what I'm saying? I could only imagine what it looked like when your business is together and when you don't need niggas anymore and when you don't have to reach out anymore and you are the top dog and they girls start liking you or you start making advances on they girls. And so niggas feel away because they know that they're not the top dog. You know what I'm saying? And so, that's what I think is going on with Drake. It's just that a lot of rappers feel like they are the guy, but in reality, in the arcade, that nigga has the higher score. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for a lot of you niggas gotta pivot into other things to be the man to then be like, yeah, I'm the man over here. And then it's like, yeah, but you know what? You know what I'm saying? Like, let me not even roast, man. Let me not even roast. It is what it is. It is what it is. You got to win at something, right? You know what I'm saying? You got to find your own game and win at that and be happy with that, right? But, for me, I think that's how the hate start for a lot of motherfuckers. That's how it worked. And that's why a lot of people chime in with they beat and they over talk, you know what I'm saying? Instead of slowing shit down and taking their time and realizing that, okay, buddy, got a lot going on with him, but he genuine though. Like he honest about his shit though, and motherfuckers will try to treat that person like an alien, like as if they're not what they say they are, even if that's what they present, show, and back up, and you know what I'm saying? Even if you have all of that, like it's something in them to just dim you down a bit, and welcome to the music business, I guess, right? Where, a lot of things that look accidental aren't really accidents. You know what I'm saying? You could take that forever, however you want to. I'm just here reporting the motherfucking news. And so, with that said, you feel me? The Iceman. It was just an incredible rollout, incredible album. I love the artwork. You know what I'm saying? He called it on first person shooter. You know what I'm saying? Another tactic that I think goes under the radar is that, you know, Drake got that album with Party Next Door, some sexy songs for you. But even before all of that and after that, he still was testing songs. He still was dropping shit, dropping little leaks here and there. Part of the reason why I'm not playing any music in this video now is because copyright and all sorts of shit on YouTube, man. That shit is messy, man. So I'm gonna have to clip this video up with YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and throw my audio in the background type shit because I'm not. If I play Drake records right now, like it's gonna flag the whole damn video. So that's why it's just me talking to y'all bare bones. You feel me? But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, yeah, man, like people gonna hate on you because they can't do what you do. And the shine and the aura on you is just not on them. You know what I'm saying? And no matter how they come at you, you gotta understand why they come at you. You feel me? So, for Drake, if he was ever watching me, man, if he was ever studying the game on what I brought to the table and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? We need to definitely have a talk, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like we can make a lot of records. I feel like you know what I'm saying? If you handing out them owl chains to the niggas that you know, kept it solid, kept it firm friends with you, you know what I'm saying? Then we might need to discuss some things about that chain. But nah, all jokes aside, man, like, if he was just like, oh nah, fam, like, you still diss me, fam. You still, had jokes on certain songs. And, if he's gonna lean more on that rather than look at the overall of what I did and the thought process behind it, um, then it is what it is. Who am I? Like this is my life to do what I want with it. You know what I'm saying? I like I said, I threw my name in the ring to keep it competitive, to keep it healthy. I didn't have to mention people's wives or kids or pedo island activities, and I didn't have to do all of that to keep it in the sphere of rap. You know what I'm saying? To challenge, nigga, I challenge Eminem if I could. You know what I'm saying? I had certain bars that was flipping Eminem schemes. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no nigga above the creativity of music and art and how language can be utilized to make awesome records. And so I'm on the side of music is what I'm telling the world. As much as I'm a Drake fan, and I also like some of Kendrick's material too. So, and I also love Drake, or not Drake, J. Cole's material too. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I'm playing those guys more than Drake. You know what I'm saying? But I can respect the penmanship. I can respect the storytelling. I can respect the packaging, the craft, all of that teaches younger or unknown artists like myself how to stay sharp, be creative, and go for the top, aim for the top, climb the mountain. You know what I'm saying? Climb the mountain, play my own game, win at my own game. If people keep telling me because I get hot, oh, you doing the same thing over and over, so what? So what? Like, what Hov said, niggas want my old shit, buy my old album, play the old album. Then if that's where you want me to be, there's a time capsule for you to go over there. Go over there. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's really where I stand on with that. I stand on music, and so I came at everybody in music and everybody that's about music. So it's not personal. I just I shoot for the stars. I aim at Goliaths. You know what I mean? I stand on the shoulders of giants. I study film, nigga. Like I respect the game. I respect the hustle. I respect everything that come with it, and hopefully, you know, uh one day I get discovered, you know what I mean, to where my life could change like OD, and all the sacrifices I've made to get to this point, you know what I'm saying? It would really mean a lot, especially, as a New York artist, you know what I'm saying? Cuz I lived in Atlanta too. I was raised somewhat in Atlanta as well. I've moved around a lot. And so I got the best of both worlds. And the thing about New York is that they're passive aggressively haters over here. And the thing about down south is, you got a lot of collaboration, but you also got a lot of sucker hater shit down there too. And realistically, anywhere where there's poverty or anywhere where people are conditioned to believe a certain way or treat other people that with a different skin tone than them a certain way, they're all programmed to move in a way where someone like Drake or myself that could be very versatile in all walks of life, and we can adapt to the changes, and we could adapt to the lingo and be a chameleon in that fashion. And even if we might not have like a specific home we go to, there's a lot of people like us out there that in if we were to team up or be a collective of versatile people, we can create our own atmosphere, create our own, in a way, Wakanda. You know what I'm saying? And where it's like the fusion of cultures into a melting pot is not really discriminating on anybody. It's more so embracing the differences that shape the mindset and the art that comes out of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, again, this episode is called Battle of the Beaks because everybody is battling for their perspective or for their point of view online. And you know, as I, being the owl flying out the cage with the ring, symbolically and spiritually, you know what I'm saying? Even though I said it's supposed to fly back to me as the physical person, um, when you look at the artwork, it shows, just what you're surrounded by just to cut through. It's like you're surrounded by great horned owls that they might not rock with you, or there might be a few allies that rock with you. Then you're surrounded by crows, you know what I'm saying, that already shows up in a murder, you know what I'm saying. Then you got bats, you know what I'm saying. I got my Brav Man logo is a bat, you know what I mean, because I heavily take inspiration from Batman. And that's how I, in a way, came at all of these records that I've made in general, was just from a Batman perspective of being in the cave, being in the shadows, putting in that work, having a lot of gadgets to help me, fight crime or solve mysteries and shit like that. Be a detective in a way, you know what I'm saying? The only difference is I ain't got $1 billion. I ain't got $1 billion, man. But just the archetype and the characteristics of Batman, the kung fu, the learning of linguistic martial arts, being able to hop in any lane, any sound, any format and dominate, like, just, the hand speed with prep time is just immaculate, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, uh yeah, I'm on some absolute Batman shit, you feel me? And you know, when you got that glow, when you got that shine on you, you know what I'm saying? People people want some of that. They want to leech off that, or they want to, Majin Buu that shit. They want to absorb that shit. You know what I'm saying? And you know, you just gotta trust your instincts. You know, trust the fact that God is the greatest, and that no matter what, you know what I'm saying. No matter what, you're destined for great things. You're destined to, you know, Falcon punch through the game. You're destined to, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least for me, that's that, whether they're affirmations or whether they're, you know, just things that keep me going to keep creating. And you know what I'm saying? That's just what this shit's all about. You know what I mean? Like, that's what this shit's all about. Like, and not for nothing, I'll say this too, right? Is that I think Soldier Boy was saying some shit about like how he dropped 3 albums or 3 mixtapes, in the same day, and stuff like that. There's a lot of artists, man, that including myself, that, have dropped uh multiple tracks in a day or a week or a month, back to back, month after month, or the EP, month after month after month. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I mean, credit to Russ. Even Russ was doing a song a month after a month, and just building momentum. You know what I'm saying? Like, not even trying to like downplay what Drake did, because you can't, first of all. And second of all, he's a mainstream act to do that. I'm not mainstream. So of course, whatever I'm doing, like, if like I remember when I was dropping EPs like that, I could have dropped all 3 EPs in one day. But me as an independent artist, right? Like, and not even quotations, it is what it is. Even as an independent artist, I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, okay, how can I stretch the music? You know what I'm saying? Till I book some time to go back in the studio and record again. And even the practice of going to a studio is so like dinosauric, prehistoric. Like, a lot of probably artists now, they probably record where they are or anywhere in the world. For me, like, I was very, ritualistic to going to a certain spot over and over to mine out my diamonds, and create a sound um that, over time would not only influence my area to do the same thing, but you know what I'm saying, I would then have a template that it would just be, I'm ready to go, because the engineer that I worked with, he knows my pockets or my style or my key that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? All of that chemistry is definitely important. So, you know, uh we definitely could have dropped mad projects just in one day, or mad songs just in one day. But for me, in my beginning, even though I've rapped since like 2011 type shit, and even before then, when it was, before me taking it serious, like, I'm looking at it. When I look on my calendar, I'm like, okay, each month has a theme attached to it. Each month has a certain day that could be specific to a song, or to a theme or project. So how I'm looking at it, being that my ammo is limited in a way, my money is limited, my time in the book is limited. For guys like me in my position, to expand it and make the palette of work that you have stretch and hit certain moments in a year, that was the strategy and the thinking behind it. But again, it's not to take away from Drake just because we could have done what he did. It's not to say that. It's just to be like, yo, like, I remember when I was doing that, even at the way I was doing it, right? Whether it was month after month after month after month for the whole year, or every song every week, whatever it was like I was getting arrows online. People was talking mad subliminal shit, never say your name, but amongst themselves and their friends, they hated the format. And then the moment, they one of them started copying the format, and then the rest of them copied the format, then they big up themselves on what they just did, because they realize, like, oh shit, like, my their fans are happy and it's working, and they release that work to just go on to the next one. You know what I'm saying? And for me, that's what it was too. It was like, yo, you know, whether the fans are here or not, I'm gonna build the utopia, on some Travis Scott shit. I'm gonna build the utopia and then they can come through later, when the shit's all built. You know what I'm saying? But even from me thinking at that perspective, like the other day when I was at the mall and I'm just noticing all the stores getting closed down. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking it's because, the internet and a lot of these apps are more on the convenient time, and a lot of people are ordering things probably more online to where there's probably better deals online than being in a store with store tax. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, a lot of stores are getting knocked down. A lot of food spots done got knocked down. It's the mall in, I would say, maybe smaller towns or small pockets in the world, it's just not the same. I'm sure in the city, being that it's a population, a heavy population of people, is populated, whatever. That of course the mall would be, full of people. But where I'm at and places like where I'm at, it just it doesn't hit the same. So, there's a lot of shifts and changes in the marketplace, and that's something to gauge, understand, and figure out for yourself. The format of always dropping a single, it was effective more so back then. Now I see people online saying, hey, you shouldn't do that because, you want to drop an album, so that way you can, make the fans believe that you're serious about your craft. But then, on the opposite of that, when singles was the thing, it was like, yo, like, you shouldn't have to focus on the album because nobody know who you are to drop an album. Like, so it's like when you hear both sides that contradict, it's best to just mute that shit and do what's best for you anyway and learn for yourself anyway. But definitely do it, right? Execute, put it out. And then once it's out there, it automatically tells you that, okay, well, we tried it this way. Some of it worked, some of it didn't, or it all the way worked, or all the way didn't, whatever. But we tried it that way. Now we can do it in other ways. And then when you feel like, okay, I got enough singles, I got enough EPs, I got enough albums, then when you get to a point where it's like you drop 3 albums out of the sky, your fans that are there still listening to what you already have, and then they run into 3 projects that are new, like, your core audience should be pleased regardless because your output is still consistent, and a lot of other people's output, just isn't. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. It is what it is. Even for me, like, you know, I've made some changes for myself too. Musically, I got a lot in the tuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm working pretty hard with my guy, August Waters. You know what I mean? Shout outs to him. We've been cooking up some ideas. And you know what I'm saying? Just my whole approach in music in general, from 2026 on out, it's changed forever for the better. You know what I'm saying? And so, I'm super excited to venture that space, but I'm also really excited now, being at my crib, being able to, converse with you guys about current events going on in the world, music dropping or updates on me, what I got cooking. You know what I'm saying? And I find a new level of peace, um doing it this way, that I'm excited to, you know, start making my own records on my own time, and doing live performances from the crib. You know what I'm saying? Doing crazy things with the visuals for content. As for the existing music, we got that too. So that's a plus. That's already here with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, man, like I'm proud that I never gave up on myself. I'm proud that I took the chances, I took shots, at people at the top, friendly fire type shit. And you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just having fun with it overall. So this vid, was a combination of Iceman, Drake, myself. I could break down some of the tracks, on Iceman, maybe in another vid. Um, and maybe I can give a few more things about Iceman before I go. Um, I'm not gonna lie. There was a couple of lines like right now in the world, Janice shut the fuck up, I think is number one, right? And at first people were saying like, yo, he's talking about some lady in Universal. Now recently he's saying that, or not he, but the world is saying that, he was talking to Joe Budden because Joe Budden in an older clip from years ago said that his white girl name would be Janice, and then shortly after that he said shut the fuck up to one of his co-hosts or whatever. And so, a lot of people are saying like, well, goddamn, like Drake gotta be petty as fuck to remember something from that time. Flip it. I think there was a sample from The Sopranos that he threw in there, and he flips it in a way where he makes a hit out of that name. For me personally, though, I felt like, and again, like I can't ever prove it. I'm so at the at the bottom level, like of probably how where he's at, right? Like it's crazy. So, um, nah, like there was a lady that I took care of named Janice. You know what I'm saying? I've referenced her in one of my recent songs, "Dear Butterfly, Shine on Me." And you know what I'm saying? Just hearing the name, when you know somebody with a certain name and it's attached to a negative stigma, it rubs me the wrong way. I don't know if it does that for you guys, but the song was fire, so I can't ever hate on it. But as far as just seeing the name and what it's attached to with "Shut the Fuck Up," it's just it just didn't. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. It's not like I go to that song all the time anyway. There's other joints that I like more so, but it is what it is on that one. And then there was another line he said that I'm like, ugh, which I think was the intro actually. He says something about uh a lot of rappers are doing bad imitations. Niggas want me all bent out of shape, rattled and frustrated, or some shit like that. But bent out of shape and bad imitations, like a lot of people on some of the records I put out there, say that they got a Drake vibe to it, or I remind them of Drake, and a lot of that could be because of the beats that I choose to rap on that might give that feeling. Um, and so, it's like maybe if Drake did hear me, maybe if he did hear me and he felt like, oh, this nigga's like trying to copy my style or something, which, even he couldn't say that because I'm an amalgamation of much more than, what I've learned from him. But the whole bent out of shape and all of that, it's like, yo, if that was to me, we just gonna check that shit right now. Nigga, I ain't ever want to see you bent out of shape. Like that's cool wordplay if it's on my name and shit, but like if that's whatever you heard, and you probably only heard one thing and then was like turn this shit off, but whatever you heard and it rubbed you the wrong way to say it like that, and it was a smooth shot where it's just regular words that people say like, yeah, bent out of shape, nigga, but it's the fact that like with my ears hearing it, being that I'm a lyricist and seeing certain things, and I'ma just let you know straight up, like, nah, man, like I was on the side of music, like I said again, but more so, nigga, like if I really wanted you bent out of shape, we wouldn't free your ass out that motherfucking cage. And you did make a line about how the owl never sees the cage, the owl only wakes up to seize the day, which was clever as fuck, but a little too late as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Because that's 2 years ago for right now. You know what I'm saying? Where I was in the heart of it, at the start of it, that's what the fuck happened. That's what the fuck was implied. And so for me, I basically tore off the Naruto jutsu seal off that cage with that motherfucking Tupac ring, and you're motherfucking welcome. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you just have a funny way of showing gratitude, but regardless, you know what I'm saying? That's my stance on that. But I get the flip. The flip was amazing. The Aiden Ross for streams way before Ross had streams or whatever. That was crazy. Again, he was in the cut loading rebuttals. You know what I'm saying? I wish I had a 40 on my side like that, that can just ride with me all the way and not give the sound out to anybody and not no, be in the need of money and finances to where they have to record people. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like everybody deserve a 40, man. You know what I'm saying? Because the sound is just so top tier. The quality of the beats, I believe 40 makes beats as well. It's just amazing. He has a crazy ear for sonics and just the intention for Drake's vocal quality. Like again, fam, like I've learned a lot from you guys. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure, whether artists that are already known or was already in the game before he got in the game want to admit it, nigga. Like, bro, everybody know what's up. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know what's up. They just have their own funny way of saying it, showing it, or maybe they just funny style and they don't want to say it or show it at all because, it's an ego thing for niggas. But for me, I'm going to always give props and respect and credit where it's due. You know what I'm saying? I think just the other day, like, I gave some props to an artist that, he had a certain phrase and you know what I'm saying? It ringed off and I threw it in my song and you know what I mean? I just reached out and was like, yo, salute. Like, I just wanted to let you know, like, because a lot of cats be funny style when something pop, then that's when they want to be negative and come at you with disrespect and hate and be like, yo, that was me. And it's like for me, it don't take nothing from me to be like, yo, this is where I got it from. This is this person right here. This is that sauce from right there. Like I like dropping the breadcrumbs or the gems for people to kind of see how my mind works and how it all comes together when I process the shit. So there's not a hater bone in my body, man, because you know, I'm always gonna appreciate what helped me get to where I am today type shit. You know what I'm saying? So Drake, you definitely one of them pillars for me, my G. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the G Way handshake yet, but I'm sure in the near future, me and you will have a conversation. And I'm gonna manifest that because you feel me. We got work to do, my friend. We got work. We got work. So yeah, man. And I see academics with the owl chain. You know what I'm saying? That was definitely a moment for act. I know a lot of cats is salty behind that, but me and act too. Yeah, we definitely need to have a conversation as well. You know what I'm saying? There's some things we gotta clear up. Um, what else? Yeah, Battle of the Beaks, man. Battle of the Beaks, yo. The artwork, for this shit is super sick. You know what I'm saying? The creativity is unmatched. I'm able to create my own storyline, unlike J. Cole, I found a portal that works. You feel me? So, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully, he can find what works for him too and hop in the game because he's elite as well. And you know, it's interesting to see if Kendrick, we already know there's no round twos from what he's saying, but if we ever hear him reference shit, then the ball's back in play. You feel what I'm saying? So I guess at this point we just gonna let Iceman ice shit out. You feel me? Cause it's frosty outside. It's frosty for the summer. You know, and hopefully this gives like a new battery and energy to hip hop because if I'm being honest and real here, we can't just rely on one person, you know, uh for hip hop to be saved. That's the game the game is stronger in numbers. You know what I'm saying? When we all team up on a unified positive goal, not on a unified let's jump a nigga. You know what I mean? And get him the fuck out of here when he's been contributing 15 plus summers of just anthems and soundtracks to our lives. Like I will never understand that hater shit, but at the same time it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But that I just feel like for hip hop to constantly dominate and be on the charts and be, number one in all categories, and you know what I'm saying? We gotta make better music, quality music. We gotta team up, have better ideas, put those ideas out there, and shit, if we can create an atmosphere where um battling is in a healthier way, like for the sport, where you know what I'm saying, people can, have a jacket that has heavy medals of honor on it. You know what I'm saying? Like not stains on the jacket of certain things, like real medals to be like, yo, nah, like win, lose or draw, like Buddy showed up, Buddy showed out. Buddy gave it his all. You know what I'm saying? If we can get to a space like that, yo, I think the game would be potent, and I think a lot of rappers that went podcaster will go from podcaster back to rapper. You know what I'm saying? Or podcaster into a more seasoned, vetted artist, where they understand that the realms of media, all sides of media, is important when you roll out your song or when you roll out your album. You know what I'm saying? So, that's why, what I do right now with the switch of the guard, with being more visual, being more animated, and just talking to the phone, talking to the camera, you know what I'm saying, is to just try new shit out, you know what I'm saying, and just be consistent in a way where, you know what I mean, it can give my music and my catalog a chance to breathe, a chance to shine, and attached to new fans out there that can have a piece of me when they out there living their lives. You know what I'm saying? So, um, like I said, maybe I'll do Iceman breakdown on a couple of songs for another time or whatever. I see a lot of people doing that, anyway. So it's like there's so much of it that it's like, why for me? I mean, I'm the artist as well. A lot of these guys, they're just streamers or people in their houses, turning on their cameras, just talking about what's new to them. For me, it's fresh to me, but I'm an artist as well. So it's like me looking at the artist, listening to the artist, a lot of that shit is already expected, and me catching it, it's like what, and it's dope bars, but it's like the urge to go online and be like, yo, you heard what he said? It's like, yo, Buddy was always capable to say that. That man done said that shit like so many motherfucking times. But to the fans that are just fans, I get that that's why y'all do what y'all do for us as artists. And so I'm gonna always appreciate that. But for the artists listening, you know what I'm saying? Like the way how we process and digest shit, it's just gonna be different. And so, Battle of the Beaks, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? You can follow me on all streams, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud mainly for exclusive sauce that probably can't go on the main official platforms. My YouTube channel, I'm trying to get super popping, so definitely subscribe, like, comment, all over there. I got mad videos, mad content for you guys. My Instagram is jumping as well. And, I had a lot of videos talking about, me not being back on Facebook, but there is a surprise coming. There is a surprise coming. So, stay tuned for that. And on that note, man,
Bravo Bagazo.
we are out of here. Peace.